Tonight, a story that proves it's never too late to right a wrong. Appropriately for this weekend, it takes place at a cemetery.
We first shared this story in 2011. Some of the language is insensitive by today's standards, but we've included it for what the words say about attitudes a century ago. Here's Boyd Hooper with the best of From the Land of 10,000 Stories.
Some stories are buried deep, lost to the years, and never again unearthed. But a story picked up and carried from the Steelsville Cemetery 100 years ago is traveling still.
We'd hear about it from my dad, primarily.
Keith and Les Bergquist were boys
It was just part of this place.
when their dad
Oh, yeah.
first told them the story.
Yep.
He'd first heard as a boy
Oh, for my folks.
the story of a man buried outside the Steelsville Cemetery fence.
Let's go to the L's.
2 years ago,
Lundberg.
that story brought Les to the Dassel Area Historical Society.
Carl, that's his brother. Here we go. Bingo. Got it. September 7th, 1911. Dassel Anchor.
Where a century-old newspaper filled in the story's gaps
Blacksmith suicide.
in graphic detail.
Blows the top of his head off in a fit of temporary insanity.
The article recounts how Johann August Lundberg barged into a neighbor's home, stole a gun, then held the sheriff at bay.
Had been a heavy drinker.
It is written with words
Became insane.
that reveal much about attitudes a century ago toward the mentally ill.
A maniac placed the gun to his head and pulled the trigger.
For Les, the verbiage also provided context for the story he'd grown up hearing of a father who loaded his son's body in a wagon and dug a grave outside the Steelsville Cemetery.
They put them on the outside of the fence, yeah. Well, they wouldn't take them in the cemetery.
Denial of burial by Christian cemeteries was once common when a life was taken by suicide.
Oh, they were possessed with demons, you know. And because they were possessed with demons, they certainly can't bury them in a Christian cemetery and contaminate the souls of the other saints that are buried here. That was the thought process.
Les and Keith could not rewrite the beginning of the story,
So it's right in here.
but no one said they had to be satisfied with the end.
Kind of fulfilling to see it come to a close, and it's kind of breathtaking to know it happened 100 years ago tomorrow.
The stone, purchased with grant money from a local co-op, was placed near the grave Johann's father had dug. But this time, just inside the line where the fence once stood,
The property line is right here, and
within sight of an open space in the Lundberg family plot,
Johann's parents are buried here.
a space that in another time would have belonged to Johann.
Making something right that hadn't been right for all this time, and giving Mr. Lundberg, the respect that all of us should have.
But there was still one wrong from the story they needed to make right.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound.
Gethsemane Lutheran Church couldn't locate so much as a photo of Johann or a single surviving relative. But that didn't mean they couldn't give him a proper service.
Even the fence was removed, but the story was never forgotten. And today we do what should have been done 100 years ago.
If the future is willing, the story will continue to live.
Bless this monument in memory of Johann August Lundberg.
Now a tale of a community that has righted its mistakes,
So thank you, Les and Keith.
and a man outside a fence no longer left alone.
There is love out there. There is hope.
Boyd Hooper, KARE 11 News, Dassel.
6 years after that story first aired, Les Bergquist told us the stone at the edge of the cemetery continues to trigger conversations about depression and suicide and society's evolving attitudes.
And hopefully people that need help are getting the help that they need.
Absolutely.
You know, Laura, a lot of people are